The mining station floated in the darkness of space, surrounded by thousands of asteroids. Kepler 442 was its name, and it was home to 300 workers. Most of them were human, but the bosses were not. They were Vrakir, tall reptilian creatures with scales like armor and eyes that saw humans as nothing more than tools. Hana wiped the sweat from her face as she finished checking the mining equipment. She was only 19 years old, but she had been working on this station for 2 years. Her dream had been to become a great engineer, to build things that would help people across the galaxy. Instead, she spent her days fixing broken machines while Vrakir guards watched her every move. The other human workers kept their heads down. They had learned quickly that the Vrakir did not like questions. They did not like complaints. They especially did not like humans who acted like they had rights. The peace treaty between Earth and the Vrakir Empire said that both species were equal partners. Everyone on the station knew that was a lie. Hana finished her work and headed toward the storage bay. She needed to check the inventory records for the refined metals they had processed that week. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. She pulled up the computer files and started comparing numbers. Something was wrong. The production reports showed 1,000 tons of refined platinum had been processed. But the shipping records only showed 700 tons being sent to Earth. 300 tons were missing. Hana checked the records again, thinking she had made a mistake. But the numbers were clear. Someone was stealing Earth's metals. She looked at the transfer logs and felt her blood run cold. The missing platinum was being loaded onto Vrakir ships. They were taking it and changing the records to hide the theft. This had been going on for months, maybe years. Hana knew she should stay quiet. She knew that asking questions could get her in trouble. But this was wrong. Earth needed those materials. Families back home needed the money from those sales. She could not just pretend she had not seen anything. She saved the evidence on a data chip and went to find the station commander. Her hands shook as she walked through the corridors. Other humans saw her and looked away quickly. They could tell she was about to do something dangerous. The station commander was a human named Taman. He was in his 40s with gray hair and tired eyes. He had worked in space for 20 years and the job had worn him down. When Hana showed him the evidence, his face went pale. "Where did you get this?" he asked quietly. "From the inventory system," Hana said. "Someone has been stealing from us. We have to report it." Taman closed his eyes. "Hana, listen to me very carefully. You need to delete this file and forget you ever saw it." "What?" "But they're stealing from Earth." "I know," Taman said. His voice was heavy with shame. "I've known for a year. I reported it once. Do you know what they did? They beat 3 workers and cut our food rations for a month. They told me if I ever mentioned it again, they would kill someone." Hana stared at him. "So we just let them steal from us?" "We survive," Taman said. "That's what we do. We keep our heads down and we survive. Please, Hana, delete the file." But Hana could not do it. That night, she sent an encrypted message to the Galactic Trade Authority. She included all the evidence. She thought that if the galaxy knew what was happening, they would have to do something. Laws existed for a reason. The response came 3 days later. Vrakir guards dragged Hana from her quarters at midnight. They pulled her through the corridors as other workers watched in horror. No one tried to help her. No one could. They brought her to the central plaza, the large open area at the heart of the station where workers gathered for meals. The guards chained her to a metal post in the middle of the plaza. A crowd began to form. Humans and aliens from a dozen species all came to watch. The Vrakir commander was a massive creature named Thrax. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, with scars covering his scales. He held up the data chip that contained Hana's evidence. "This human tried to spread lies about the Vrakir Empire," Thrax announced. His voice echoed through the plaza. "She tried to damage the peace between our people. For this crime she will be punished. It's not a lie," Hana shouted. "You're stealing from Earth." "The records prove it." Thrax struck her across the face. Blood filled her mouth. The crowd went silent. "Earth is weak," Thrax said. "Humans are weak. You smile and talk about peace because you know you cannot fight. You work for us because you have no choice." This one forgot her place. "Watch and remember yours." What followed was 3 days of horror. The Vrakir guards took turns beating Hana. They gave her no food and only enough water to keep her alive. They made sure the torture was visible to everyone on the station. Cameras broadcast the whole thing across the sector, so other humans would see and understand their place in the galaxy. Taman tried to send a message to Earth. He begged for help. The response from the Earth government was weak and formal. They protested the treatment and requested a full investigation. The Vrakir ignored them completely. On the third day, they finally cut Hana down. She could barely stand. Her face was swollen and bruised. Several ribs were broken. They dragged her to the medical bay and left her there. The human doctor, an old woman named Borum, cleaned Hana's wounds with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry we couldn't help you." Hana tried to speak, but her jaw was broken. She had fought for what was right, and it had destroyed her. The Vrakir were celebrating in their quarters. They had proven their point. Humans were weak. Earth would do nothing. Across the station, the other human workers went back to their jobs. They moved like ghosts, broken and afraid. This was their life now. This was what peace looked like when you had no power to defend yourself. In the medical bay, Hana drifted in and out of consciousness. She dreamed of Earth, of her family and soul, of a time when she had believed that justice mattered. Those dreams felt like they belonged to a different person, far away on Earth. In buildings buried deep underground where sunlight never reached, old soldiers sat in dark rooms and watched the footage of Hana's torture. They watched every second of it. Their faces showed no emotion, but their hands gripped the armrests of their chairs until the metal bent. One of them, a woman named Soman with gray hair and cold eyes, picked up a secure communication device. She typed a single word and sent it to 12 different locations across the planet. The word was simple: activate. In secret facilities hidden beneath mountains and oceans, lights began to turn on. Systems that had been dormant for decades hummed to life. Men and women who had been waiting in the shadows for years opened their eyes and smiled. The Vrakir thought they had won. They thought they had taught humanity a lesson. They had no idea what was coming for them. They did not know that Earth had been preparing for this moment since the first day humans met aliens. They did not know that humanity's greatest weapon was not ships or guns. It was patience and secrets. Deep in those underground facilities, soldiers began to gear up. They had trained for this their entire lives. They had been enhanced and modified and turned into something more than human. And now finally they were being unleashed. The Vrakir had tortured one human girl. They were about to learn what happened when you hurt Earth's children. The dropship cut through space like a knife through water. It was small, painted black and completely invisible to every scanner in the sector. Inside, 4 people sat in silence. They did not speak because they did not need to. Neural implants connected their minds, letting them share thoughts faster than words ever could. Jiho sat in the commander's seat. He was 32 years old, though his body had stopped aging at 25. The nanomachines in his blood kept him in perfect condition. His muscles were 3 times denser than a normal human's. His bones were reinforced with artificial materials that made them stronger than steel. His brain processed information 10 times faster than it should. He was not just a soldier. He was a weapon that Earth had spent 20 years building. Beside him sat Myung. She was smaller than Jiho, barely 5 feet tall, but her size was deceiving. She had been modified for speed and precision. Her nervous system had been upgraded until her reaction time was measured in milliseconds. She could move so fast that normal humans saw her as a blur. In training, she had once disarmed 40 combat robots in under 2 minutes. That was 5 years ago. She had gotten much better since then. Doyen sat in the back, taking up 2 seats because of his size. He was massive, nearly 7 feet tall, with muscles that looked like they had been carved from stone. His genetic modifications had focused on raw strength. He could lift 10 tons without strain. His skin was reinforced with subdermal plating that could stop most bullets. He had once punched through a tank during a training exercise. The engineers had been very upset about that. Yoonji sat across from Doyen, her fingers dancing across a holographic keyboard that only she could see. Her augmentations were different from the others. While they had focused on physical enhancement, she had chosen mental upgrades. Her brain had been wired with quantum processors that let her hack any computer system in seconds. She could see through electronic eyes across entire planets. Right now, she was looking through every camera on Kepler 442, watching the Vrakir and planning their infiltration. "Target is in Medical Bay Section 7, Yoonji said. Her voice was calm and cold. 12 guards outside. Station security has been doubled since the incident. They're expecting someone to try something. Good, Jiho said. Let them expect it. They still won't see us coming. The ship began its approach to the station. It did not slow down or announce itself. It simply phased through the outer hull like a ghost passing through a wall. The technology was Earth's most classified secret. It bent space around the ship, letting it pass through solid matter. The Vrakir had no idea such a thing was even possible. They materialized inside a storage bay. The ship powered down instantly, becoming nothing more than a dark shadow in the corner. The 4 soldiers stood and checked their equipment. They wore black armor that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Their weapons were compact and silent. Everything about them was designed for stealth. Remember the mission, Jiho said. We extract Hana. We avoid killing if possible. But if they force our hand, we do what needs to be done. The others nodded. They had been given permission to use lethal force if necessary. That permission came from the highest levels of Earth's government. The Vrakir had crossed a line when they tortured Hana. Now they would learn that Earth had lines too and consequences for crossing them. They moved through the station like shadows. Yunji hacked security cameras as they walked, creating false images so the guards saw empty corridors. Myung scouted ahead, moving so fast that even if someone had seen her, they would have thought she was a trick of the light. Doyen stayed in the middle, ready to handle any heavy resistance. Jiho coordinated everything, his enhanced brain processing dozens of variables at once. They reached the medical bay in 6 minutes. 12 Vrakir guards stood outside, heavily armed and alert. These were not the regular station security. These were elite soldiers trained for combat. They were expecting trouble. They were not expecting what actually came for them. Myung moved first. She crossed the 50 feet between them in less than a second. Her hands moved in precise strikes, hitting nerve clusters that the Vrakir did not even know they had. 6 guards dropped to the ground unconscious before they realized they were under attack. The other 6 tried to raise their weapons, but Jiho was already among them. He moved with brutal efficiency, disarming them and knocking them out with precise strikes. The entire fight lasted 8 seconds. Clear, Jiho said into his neural link. Yunji hacked the medical bay door and it slid open silently. Inside, they found Hana sleeping in a hospital bed. Dr. Borum was sitting beside her, reading from a data pad. The old woman looked up and saw the 4 black-armored figures standing in her doorway. Her eyes went wide with fear. Please, Borum whispered. Don't hurt her. She's been through enough. We're here to take her home, Jiho said. He removed his helmet and Borum saw a human face underneath. Relief washed over her features. You're from Earth, she said. I didn't think they would send anyone. They sent us, Myung said. She moved to Hana's bed and gently lifted the injured girl. Hana weighed nothing in her enhanced arms. Is there anything she needs? Medications. Borum quickly grabbed a medical kit and handed it to Doyen. She needs another 3 weeks of treatment. Her injuries are severe. She'll get the best care Earth can provide, Jiho promised. Is there anything else we should know? Borum hesitated, then said, There are 57 other humans on this station. They live in fear every day. If you're taking her, can you— We can't take everyone, Jiho said. His voice was gentle but firm. Not yet. But things are going to change after tonight. Tell them to hold on a little longer. The station alarm began to wail. Red lights flashed through the corridors. They found the guards, Yunji said. She was looking through the security network. 300 Vrakir soldiers are heading this way. They're sealing all the exits, Jiho smiled. It was not a nice smile. Good, we wanted to send a message anyway. Time to drop the stealth. He pressed a button on his armor and a signal went out. Throughout the station, jamming systems activated. Every camera, every sensor, every communication device suddenly switched to a new frequency. Earth was taking control of the station's broadcast systems. Yunji, Jiho said, show the galaxy what happens when you hurt our people. Yunji's eyes glowed with blue light as she merged her consciousness with the station's network. Every screen on Kepler 442 and every screen in the sector suddenly showed the same image, Jiho's face. People of the galaxy, he said. For 3 days you watched as a human girl was tortured for telling the truth. You did nothing. Earth's government protested and you ignored us. The Vrakir said humans are weak. They said we accept this treatment because we have no choice. He could hear the Vrakir soldiers getting closer. Heavy boots thundered through the corridors. Doyen cracked his knuckles and grinned. Let us correct that misunderstanding, Jiho said. He put his helmet back on. Yunji, keep broadcasting. I want everyone to see this. The medical bay door exploded inward. 50 Vrakir soldiers poured through, weapons raised. They saw 4 humans standing calmly in the center of the room. One of them held Hana in her arms. The others looked ready for a fight. Surrender now, the Vrakir commander roared. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Jiho reached up and touched a control on his neck. There was a soft hiss as limiters disengaged. His armor began to glow with blue light. The same light appeared on his teammate's armor. Limiters off, he said calmly. Full combat authorization granted. Rules of engagement. Non-lethal preferred, but survival is priority. The Vrakir commander had time to look confused. Then Jiho moved. He crossed the distance between them faster than the Vrakir eye could track. His fist connected with the commander's chestplate and the armor crumpled like paper. The commander flew backward, crashing through 3 of his own soldiers. They went down in a heap. Myung set Hana down gently on a floating medical stretcher, then turned to face the Vrakir soldiers. She moved like lightning, weaving between them, her hands striking pressure points and nerve clusters. Weapons clattered to the ground. Soldiers dropped like puppets with cut strings. Doyen walked forward slowly, letting the Vrakir shoot at him. The bullets bounced off his armor and reinforced skin. He reached the nearest group of soldiers and grabbed 2 of them by their heads. He lifted them off the ground and very gently set them aside, unconscious. The other soldiers tried to stop him. They might as well have been trying to stop a mountain from moving. Yunji stayed back, her hands conducting an invisible orchestra. Through the station's systems, she shut down Vrakir weapons remotely, locked doors to trap groups of soldiers, and made sure every single second was being broadcast across the sector. The fight lasted 90 seconds. 50 Vrakir elite soldiers lay unconscious on the ground. The 4 humans stood among them, barely breathing hard. Jiho looked directly at the nearest camera. We are Phantom Unit 7, he said. We are what Earth created while you thought we were weak. We are what happens when you push peaceful people too far. More alarms blared. Yunji reported through the neural link that another 200 Vrakir soldiers were converging on their position. Jiho smiled again. Good, let's make sure the message is very clear. The second wave of Vrakir soldiers came prepared. They brought heavy weapons, energy shields, and combat mechs. They sealed the entire section of the station and cut off all escape routes. Their commanders watched through tactical displays, confident that 4 humans, no matter how skilled, could not possibly defeat 200 elite warriors backed by military technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Jiho and his team moved into the main corridor. They walked calmly, not running or hiding. Hana floated beside them in the medical stretcher, still unconscious but safe. Yunji had encrypted the stretcher's system so nothing could tamper with it. The young girl had suffered enough. Now she would witness what Earth did for its children. The first mech rounded the corner. It stood 12 feet tall, armed with plasma cannons and missile launchers. The pilot saw the 4 humans and laughed over the external speakers. You should have hidden while you had the chance. The plasma cannons fired. Bright blue energy bolts screamed down the corridor, enough firepower to vaporize a small building. Doyen stepped forward. He raised his hands and his palms glowed with the same blue light as his armor. The plasma bolts hit an invisible barrier and dispersed harmlessly. The technology was another Earth secret. Personal shield generators powered by the same nanomachines that enhanced their bodies. My turn, Doyen said. He ran at the mech and the entire station shook with his footsteps. The pilot fired everything he had, but nothing could penetrate Doyen's shields. Then Doyen reached the mech and grabbed its leg. He lifted the entire 12-foot war machine over his head and threw it down the corridor like a toy. It crashed into a group of Vrakir soldiers and they all went down together. Myung blurred past Jiho, moving so fast she was invisible. She ran along the walls and ceiling, defying gravity with the magnetic grips in her boots. Vrakir soldiers tried to track her with their weapons, but she was everywhere and nowhere. She struck like a snake, her hands moving in precise patterns that she had practiced 10,000 times. Every touch disabled a soldier. Every strike was perfectly placed. In 10 seconds, she had taken down 30 warriors and none of them had even seen her clearly. Jiho walked into the center of the chaos. Bullets and energy bolts filled the air around him, but his shields held. He drew his weapon, a compact railgun that fired smart bullets. Each shot was calculated by the computer in his brain. Each bullet found its target, hitting armor joints and weapon systems. He did not aim to kill, only to disable. The Vrakir dropped their weapons and fell back, terrified by this human who moved like a machine and fought like a demon. Yunji stood at the back, her eyes glowing as she worked through the station's systems. She found the Vrakir communication network and hijacked it. Suddenly, every Vrakir soldier's helmet showed them the same image. Footage of Hana being tortured, followed by Jiho's face. "You did this," his voice said through their helmets. "You tortured an innocent girl and broadcast it to humiliate us. Now we broadcast our response. Watch and learn." She also took control of the station's defense turrets and turned them against the Vrakir forces. Automated guns swiveled and fired stun rounds, dropping soldiers before they could react. She locked doors to separate groups of enemies, making it impossible for them to coordinate. She was one person fighting a battle across an entire digital battlefield, and she was winning. A Vrakir commander, bigger and more experienced than the others, pushed his way to the front. His name was Thrax, the same one who had tortured Hana. He saw the humans and roared in rage. "You think you can defeat the Vrakir Empire? We have conquered 100 worlds. You are nothing but clever animals." Jiho stopped walking. He looked at Thrax, and everyone watching through the broadcast could see the cold anger in his eyes. "You conquered 100 worlds," Jiho said quietly. "But you never fought Earth. We held back because we wanted peace. You mistook our mercy for weakness," Thrax charged. He was fast for his size, trained in combat for 50 years. He swung his plasma blade at Jiho's head. Jiho caught the blade with his bare hand. The plasma burned bright against his shield, but it could not cut through. Thrax's eyes went wide with shock. "Impossible," the Vrakir whispered. "For you, maybe," Jiho said. Then he moved. What happened next was almost too fast to see, even with the cameras recording everything. Jiho disarmed Thrax, struck him in 3 places, and had him on the ground in less than 2 seconds. The mighty Vrakir commander, who had killed dozens of humans and never lost a fight, was defeated before he could understand what had happened. Jiho knelt beside him. "You will live," he said. "I want you to remember this day. I want you to remember what happened when you pushed us too far. Tell your empire. Tell the galaxy. Humans chose peace, but we are ready for war. And if you ever hurt one of our people again, next time we won't be so gentle." He stood up and looked at the remaining Vrakir soldiers. Most of them had dropped their weapons. They had seen their best warriors defeated. They had seen their technology made useless. They had seen 4 humans do what should have been impossible. "Stand down," Jiho commanded. "The fight is over. Anyone who surrenders will be treated fairly. Anyone who continues fighting will be put down. Choose now." Weapons clattered to the ground. The Vrakir soldiers raised their hands in surrender. They had no shame in this. They were warriors, and they knew when they were beaten by a superior force. Yunji's voice came through the neural link. "Jiho, we have a problem. The station commander just activated the self-destruct sequence. He'd rather destroy the station than admit defeat," Jiho swore. "Can you stop it?" "Already working on it," Yunji said. Her fingers moved faster than thought, diving into the station's core systems. "He's locked it behind 7 layers of encryption." "Give me 30 seconds. "We don't have 30 seconds, Doyen said. He was looking at a countdown display on the wall. 20 seconds until detonation. Myung scooped up Hana's stretcher. "Then we run." "I can get her to the ship." "No," Jiho said. "There are 300 people on this station. We don't leave them to die." "Haunji, I need more time." "Doyen, can you get to the reactor core?" Doyen smiled. "I can try to hold it together manually. Might hurt a bit." He turned and ran toward the reactor. The station shook as the self-destruct sequence continued. Doyen reached the reactor room and tore through the blast door with his bare hands. Inside, the reactor was starting to overload. Energy was building up, ready to explode. Doyen grabbed the reactor housing and held it. The metal was hot enough to melt steel. Energy discharge that should have torn through the room was absorbed by his body's shields. He gritted his teeth as the pain hit him, but he held on. "Yunji, whatever you're doing, do it fast." Yunji's eyes blazed with blue light. Her consciousness spread through the station's network like wildfire. She found the encryption, broke through the first layer, then the second, then the third. Each layer was more complex than the last. The commander had been thorough. 10 seconds left. She broke through the 4th layer. 5 seconds. The 5th layer cracked. 3 seconds. "Got it," Yunji screamed. The self-destruct sequence stopped with 1 second remaining. The reactor began to power down safely. In the reactor room, Doyen let go and collapsed to his knees, smoke rising from his armor. Throughout the station, lights flickered and then stabilized. People had been preparing to die. Now they realized they were going to live. Human workers stared at their screens in disbelief. Other alien species who worked on the station could not believe what they had just witnessed. Jiho walked to the nearest camera and addressed the galaxy one more time. This is our message to anyone watching. Earth is not your enemy. We want peace with all species. We want trade, cooperation, and friendship. But we will not be victims. We will not accept abuse. Touch our people and you touch all of humanity. Harm our people and we will respond. He gestured to the surrendered Vrakir soldiers around him. These warriors fought bravely. They were following orders. We bear them no hatred. But the ones who gave those orders, who thought it was acceptable to torture a human girl, you should be very afraid right now, because we are coming for you next. Not to kill you, but to make you answer for your crimes. Yunji pulled up the records that Hana had discovered. She broadcast them across the sector, showing proof of the Vrakir's theft, showing the corruption and abuse. The evidence was undeniable. The truth will not be silenced, Jiho said. Justice will be served, and Earth will protect its children. The team made their way back to their ship. They carried Hana with them, still sleeping peacefully despite everything that had happened around her. The Vrakir did not try to stop them. They were too shocked, too defeated. As the invisible ship phased through the station hull and disappeared into space, Myung looked at the young girl they had rescued. She's so small, Myung said quietly. It's strange. We're super soldiers, modified and enhanced, trained to be weapons, but we're doing all this for one person who can't fight back. That's exactly why we do it, Jiho said. We're strong so that people like her don't have to be. We fight so they can live in peace. That's what makes us human. Behind them, Kepler 442 station fell silent. The galaxy had watched everything. Now everyone knew the truth. Earth was not weak. Earth had been patient, and patience was not the same thing as powerlessness. The Vrakir war fleet assembled at the edge of their territory. 50 capital ships, each one carrying thousands of warriors, hundreds of fighter craft and dozens of support vessels. It was the largest military force the Vrakir had deployed in 20 years. At its head was Admiral Hyun, a veteran of 30 campaigns and conqueror of 12 worlds. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display. His scales were dark with age, his eyes sharp with experience. He had fought countless battles and never known defeat. Now he would teach these upstart humans what happened when they dared to strike at the Vrakir Empire. How long until we reach Earth space? He asked his navigation officer. 6 hours at maximum speed, Admiral. Hyun nodded. Send a message to the human government. Tell them they have one chance to surrender the soldiers who attacked our station. If they refuse, we will consider it an act of war. The message was sent. Earth's response came back within the hour. It was simple and direct. Request denied. The actions taken at Kepler 442 were a measured response to the torture of a human citizen. We will not surrender our soldiers. If you wish to discuss this matter, we welcome diplomatic talks. If you wish to fight, you will find us ready. Hyun crushed the communication device in his hand. They dare mock us? They dare threaten war? Increase speed. I want to arrive at Mars within 4 hours. Throughout the Vrakir fleet, warriors prepared for battle. They cleaned their weapons and checked their armor. They had watched the footage from Kepler 442, and while some were concerned about these enhanced humans, most dismissed it as clever tricks. 4 soldiers were not an army. Earth might have a few enhanced warriors, but the Vrakir had millions of regular troops. Numbers would win this war. On Earth, a different kind of preparation was happening. In an underground command center buried beneath Geneva, Commander Somin watched the Vrakir fleet approach on a holographic display. She was 60 years old with gray hair and a face that had forgotten how to smile. She had spent 40 years building Project Phantom. Now she would see if that investment had been worth it. Status of all Phantom units? She asked. A young officer checked his console. Units 1 through 12 are ready for deployment. 368 soldiers total. All equipment checked and loaded. They're awaiting your command. Good. Deploy them to defensive positions around Mars. I want the Vrakir to see them the moment they arrive. Jiwon entered the command center. She was 35, dressed in a diplomatic uniform, but her eyes were cold and calculating. She had been working in Earth's diplomatic corps for 10 years, but her real job was coordinating military operations under the cover of peace negotiations. The other alien species are watching closely, Jiwan reported. The Kelter Federation has offered to mediate. The Theron Alliance is staying neutral. Most others are waiting to see who wins before they choose a side. Smart of them, Soman said. What about our human colonies? Evacuations are proceeding. We're moving civilians from the outer colonies to safer positions. If this turns into a full war, we'll need those people out of harm's way. In a hospital on Earth, Hana woke up. She was in a private room, surrounded by medical equipment. Her injuries were already healing, thanks to advanced treatments that the station could never have provided. A nurse noticed she was awake and quickly called for a doctor. Jiwan arrived within minutes. She sat beside Hana's bed and took the young girl's hand. How do you feel? Like I was hit by a transport ship, Hana said. Her voice was rough, but she could speak again. The doctors had repaired her broken jaw. Where am I? Earth, Geneva, you're safe now. Hana's eyes filled with tears. They came for me. I saw them before I passed out. Soldiers in black armor. I thought I was dreaming. They were real. Phantom Unit 7. They extracted you from Kepler 442 and brought you home. Why? Hana asked. I'm nobody. Just a worker. Why would Earth send special soldiers for me? Jiwan smiled sadly. Because you're not nobody. You're one of ours. You stood up for what was right and you suffered for it. Earth doesn't abandon its people, Hana. We never have. We just needed the right moment to show the galaxy that truth. She pulled up a holographic display and showed Hana the news. Every channel was broadcasting the same stories. The footage from Kepler 442 had spread across the galaxy. Alien species were demanding answers from the Vrekir. Some were calling for sanctions. Others were reconsidering their own treatment of human workers. You've become a symbol, Jiwan said. What happened to you has changed everything. Hana watched the footage of Jiho and his team fighting. She saw Doyen lift that mech like it was nothing. She saw Mi-young move faster than cameras could properly capture. She saw Yunji take control of an entire station with just her mind. They're not normal humans, she whispered. No, Jiwan agreed. They're what we created to protect people like you. Enhanced soldiers, the best of our species, modified and trained to be Earth's shield. We've had them for decades, hidden away, hoping we would never need them. But now everyone knows. Yes. And the Vrekir are not happy about it. Their fleet is coming here, Hana. 50 warships are heading to Earth to demand that we surrender the soldiers who rescued you. Fear flashed across Hana's face. What will happen? That depends on whether the Vrekir are smart enough to back down, Jiwan said. But I wanted you to know the truth. This conflict started because of what happened to you. If it turns into a war, many people might die. Some might blame you for that. Hana's hands shook. It's my fault. I should have stayed quiet. I should have just... No. Jiwan's voice was firm. You did nothing wrong. You reported a crime. You told the truth. The Vrekir are the ones who chose violence. The Vrekir are the ones who have been stealing from us and abusing our people for years. This was always going to happen eventually. You just became the spark that lit the fire. In orbit around Mars, the Phantom units took their positions. 12 small ships, each carrying about 30 enhanced soldiers. They powered up their systems and waited. Inside those ships, 368 men and women prepared for what might be the most important battle of their lives. Jiho stood in the briefing room of his ship, addressing Phantom Unit 7. Mi-young, Doyen, and Yunji sat with the other 26 members of their unit. They were all enhanced, all trained, all ready. The Vrekir fleet will be here in 1 hour, Jiho said. Our orders are simple, show them what we are, but avoid killing if possible. We want them to back down, not to turn this into a bloodbath. But if they force our hand, we are authorized to use lethal force. Understood? Understood, the unit responded in unison. Mi-young raised her hand. What if they don't back down? What if they actually try to attack Earth? Then we do what we were created to do, Jiho said. We protect our home, all of it. Every human on this planet and in the colonies. That's our mission. That's our purpose. The hour passed slowly. Then the Vrekir fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Mars orbit. 50 massive warships bristling with weapons. They were an intimidating sight. Enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Admiral Hyun looked at his tactical display and frowned. I only see 12 ships. Small ones. Are they mocking us? Those are the same design as the ship that infiltrated Kepler 442, his tactical officer reported. Stealth-capable unknown weapon systems, 12 ships against 50? Hyun laughed. They're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Open a channel. The communication system connected and Jiho's face appeared on the main screen. He was wearing his helmet, his face calm and ready. I am Admiral Hyun of the Vrakir Empire. You are ordered to surrender immediately. If you do not comply, we will open fire. I am Commander Jiho of Earth's Phantom Division, Jiho replied. You are ordered to turn around and leave this system. If you do not comply, you will be removed by force. Hyun could not believe what he was hearing. You have 12 ships. We have 50. You cannot possibly believe you can win this fight. We don't need to believe, Jiho said. We know. You've seen what 4 of us can do. Now you're facing 368. This is your last chance to avoid embarrassment, Admiral. Turn around. Hyun's face darkened with rage. You think you can threaten me? I have conquered worlds. I have commanded fleets that made entire species surrender. You are nothing but modified humans playing at war. Then let's play, Jiho said calmly. He cut the communication. Admiral Hyun turned to his weapons officer. Target all 12 of those ships. Show them what real military power looks like. Fire! The Vrakir fleet opened fire. Thousands of missiles and energy weapons lit up the darkness of space. It was enough firepower to level a city. The missiles streaked toward the 12 Phantom ships. The Phantom ships did not try to run. They did not even try to dodge. They simply activated their shields. The missiles hit and exploded. The energy weapons struck with devastating force. The space around Mars lit up like a small sun. Admiral Hyun watched, expecting to see debris and destruction. Instead, when the light faded, all 12 ships remained. Undamaged, untouched, impossible, Hyun whispered. Then the Phantom ships moved. The 12 Phantom ships accelerated so fast that they seemed to simply appear beside the Vrakir fleet. One moment they were kilometers away, the next they were right next to the massive warships. Admiral Hyun barely had time to process what he was seeing before his ship shuddered from multiple impacts. Report, he shouted. Sir, something just attached to our hull. Multiple contacts. They're boarding us. Throughout the Vrakir fleet, the same thing was happening. Each Phantom ship had released its enhanced soldiers, who used personal jetpacks to cross the void of space and attach themselves to the Vrakir vessels. They were bypassing the external defenses entirely, going straight for hull breaches. Hyun watched through internal cameras as his Marines rushed to defend against the boarders. The Vrakir were experienced warriors ready for any threat, but they were not ready for this. The enhanced humans cut through the hull like it was paper. They poured into the ship in perfect formation, moving with coordination that seemed almost superhuman. Because it was. A group of 10 Vrakir Marines positioned themselves in a corridor, weapons ready. They had good cover and clear lines of fire. Basic military tactics said they should be able to hold this position against anything. Then Mi-young came around the corner. She moved faster than their eyes could track. She ran along the walls, across the ceiling, through the space between their weapons fire. By the time they realized where she was already among them. Her hands struck with surgical precision, hitting nerve clusters that paralyzed without killing. In 5 seconds, all 10 Marines were on the ground, conscious but unable to move. Corridor 7 clear, she reported. Moving to engineering, similar scenes played out across the ship. Doyen simply walked through defensive positions, letting the Vrakir shoot him until they ran out of ammunition, then calmly knocked them unconscious. Yoonji hacked their helmet systems, showing them footage of their comrades being defeated, destroying their morale before they even engaged. Jiho led with tactical precision, coordinating his unit to disable the ship's key systems without causing any deaths. On the bridge, Admiral Hyun watched his ship being taken apart piece by piece. How many boarders? He demanded. Reports are confused, sir. At least 30 humans per ship. But they're moving so fast it's hard to count. They've already taken engineering on ships 3, 7, and 11. Ships 4 and 9 have lost their weapon systems. Ship 15 just went dark completely. Send all Marines to repel boarders. Use everything we have. But it was not enough. The enhanced humans were not just faster and stronger than the Vrakir. They were smarter, better trained, and working with technology the Vrakir had never seen. Within minutes, the first Vrakir capital ship fell silent as its crew surrendered. Then the second. Then the third Jiho reached Admiral Hyun's bridge by cutting through the blast door with a plasma torch. The bridge crew raised their weapons, but Jiho raised his hand peacefully. I don't want to hurt anyone. Your ship is disabled. Your weapons are offline. Your Marines are defeated. You've lost this battle, Admiral. Please don't make us prove it further. Hyun stared at this human who had just boarded his flagship with a small team and taken it over in less than 10 minutes. Everything he knew about warfare said this should be impossible. A handful of soldiers could not defeat thousands. But here was the proof standing in front of him. What are you? Hyun asked quietly. We're what humans become when we have to, Jiho said. We're what Earth created while you thought we were weak. We're the insurance policy that we hoped we would never have to use. He walked closer to Hyun, and the Admiral saw that despite everything, this human showed no hatred in his eyes, just determination. You made a mistake, Admiral. You assumed that because we choose peace, we're incapable of war. You thought mercy meant weakness, but the strongest choice any species can make is to hold back their power and try diplomacy first. We did that. We tried for years to coexist peacefully with the Vrakir. You responded with theft, abuse, and torture. We are a warrior culture, Hyun said. We respect only strength. Then respect this, Jiho said. He activated his communicator. All units report status. The responses came back quickly. All 50 Vrakir capital ships had been boarded and taken. Not a single phantom ship had been lost. Not a single enhanced soldier had been killed. The Vrakir fleet, the pride of their empire, had been neutralized in 18 minutes. Jiho let that information sink in. We could have destroyed you, Admiral. Our weapons are capable of it, but we chose to capture you instead. We chose to disable rather than kill. Do you understand what that means? Hyun did understand. It meant that Earth was holding back even now. It meant that this devastating defeat was Earth being merciful. How many of these soldiers do you have? Enough, Jiho said. More than enough to defend ourselves. But we don't want to conquer anyone. We don't want an empire. We just want to be left in peace. Yoonji's voice came through his helmet. Jiho, we're getting communication requests from every major species in the sector. Everyone wants to know what's happening. Patch them through to Earth Command. Let them handle the diplomacy. Jiho looked at Hyun. You will be returned to your empire unharmed. Your crews will be released. Your ships will be towed back to Vrakir space. But first you're going to do something for us. What? Hyun asked warily. You're going to tell your government and your people the truth. You're going to admit that you tortured an innocent human. You're going to admit that you've been stealing from us. And you're going to recommend that the Vrakir Empire negotiate a real peace treaty with Earth. One based on mutual respect, not exploitation. My government will never agree to such terms. They will, Jiho said, because the alternative is that we release footage of this battle to the entire galaxy. Every species will see that the mighty Vrakir fleet was defeated by 12 small ships. They'll see that your warrior culture couldn't stop 300 humans. How much respect will the Vrakir Empire command after that? It was a brutal choice, but it was fair. Hyun could either help negotiate genuine peace or he could watch his empire's reputation collapse. He looked at Jiho and saw no cruelty in this human's face, only practicality. The human was offering him a way to save face while ending a conflict that the Vrakir could not win. I will do as you ask, Hyun said finally. But tell me one thing. If we had actually attacked Earth itself, would you have been this merciful? Jiho's expression hardened. No. If you had threatened our home, we would have done whatever was necessary to protect it. Be grateful you didn't make us show you what necessary means. Over the next few days, the situation rapidly changed. The Vrakir Empire, faced with undeniable evidence of their defeat and the reality of Earth's military capability, agreed to negotiate. Jiwon led the diplomatic team, and she was not gentle. The Vrakir were forced to return all stolen materials, pay reparations to human victims, and sign a treaty that treated humans as equals. Other alien species that had been abusing human workers suddenly found themselves facing unexpected inspections and investigations. Earth's diplomatic corps, backed by the knowledge that phantom units existed, began demanding fair treatment for humans across the galaxy. And they got it. No one wanted to be the next species to discover what Earth super soldiers could do. Hana spent weeks recovering in the hospital. During that time, she received visitors from across Earth and even from other planets. She met with Jiho and his unit, and they told her that she was the reason they had finally been allowed to act. Her suffering had given Earth the moral authority to reveal its strength. I don't feel like a hero, Hana said. I just reported a crime. That's what makes you a hero, Mi-young told her. You stood up for what was right even when it cost you everything. That takes more courage than anything we do. Eventually, Hana was healthy enough to leave the hospital. Ji-won offered her a position in the diplomatic corps, helping other victims of abuse and working to improve human rights across the galaxy. Hana accepted. She had survived her torture, but she did not want anyone else to go through what she had experienced. At a small ceremony, Earth honored the members of Phantom Unit 7 for their rescue mission. But the ceremony was classified, attended only by military personnel and government officials. The enhanced soldiers returned to their secret bases afterward, going back into the shadows. The galaxy knew they existed now, but Earth wanted to maintain some mystery about their full capabilities. Salmon stood with Ji-ho after the ceremony. "You did well," she said. "You showed restraint and strength in equal measure. That's not easy." "It's what we were trained for," Ji-ho said. "But I hope we don't have to do it again anytime soon." "So do I," Salmon agreed. "But it's better that the galaxy knows we can if needed. Peace through strength. It's an old concept, but it works." Months passed. The footage of the battles at Kepler 442 and Mars became the most watched content in galactic history. Military academies across multiple species studied the tactics used by the Phantom units. Governments that had been considering aggressive expansion suddenly focused on internal development instead. No one wanted to provoke Earth. Hana stood before a gathering of young humans from across the colonies. She had been asked to speak about her experience. She looked at their faces and saw hope mixed with curiosity.